Welcome to the Traitors, a Traitors podcast. My name is David Bloomberg, and along with me once again, MaJiKer is here as we're your hosts for the final week of season 1 of the Traitors Ireland. And today, of course, we are talking to you about the finale. And in case you didn't notice and you're here on video, see, we're showing you the time difference because we're both at Slane Castle, but I'm there in the daytime and he's there at the nighttime.
I am. It's timey-wimey. This is how we roll. It was actually unintentional,
Yeah.
viewers. We just read each other's minds. I confess, David, I did try on a shirt and a little bow tie. I was like, oh, let's get dressed up for the finale. And I don't want to say that none of it fitted me anymore. I'm not saying I've put on weight. Let's just say I've put on some muscle. I've put on some weight. Anyway, nothing fitted me anymore, so I'm just wearing my fairly smart shirt and I'm dressing up for the finale. And what a finale it was.
Yes, yes. And I, of course, am dressed in my finest traitor's cloak here. Uh, Now, MaJiKer, if for some reason someone is like, I've watched the whole series, I
Mhm.
always want to say season, I've watched the whole series, and here at the finale, I just wanted to listen to or watch one podcast. And here they are at the finale.
Mhm.
Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I would say is Kjolva May. I'm not confident with that. I'm a musician. I would say, oh, hang on, I could say this. I write a song. Hang on. Screevem and Auron.
Hmm.
Yeah, every time I say something in Irish, I feel like I'm getting worse. But
Yeah,
however, little teaser for the end, one of the final phrases spoken in this episode of the finale, I let out a little whoop because Siobhan spoke in Irish and I understood what she said.
I figured it was
Famously.
Irish because I couldn't understand it. I was like, okay, she must have said something in Irish that I didn't catch, but
And I'm
I knew you would.
Yeah, and I'm actually confident. Even Duolingo, which as we all know, doesn't get you super fluent, even Duolingo allowed me to understand what she said. And stay tuned because at the end, if you're not an Irish speaker, I will confidently reveal what Siobhan said at the end.
All right. And in case anyone doesn't know who I am, I have been covering reality TV for 25 years online, in the newspaper, on my own websites, and of course for 10 years in podcasts. In addition, I post reality TV videos as at David Bloomberg TV on YouTube, TikTok, and Instagram. There's really not much to talk to. I mean, we don't need to recap the whole season. Everybody's seen it. So I think we just jump in to the finale. So, breakfast time. Kelly and Oyen are in first. At first, it always makes me wonder, like, why don't they just have everybody come in? Because there's no murder. They know that nothing's happening here. But then I remember, oh, this allows them to break it up and let them give us their individual confessionals and stuff. So, Orion says this game is not for the faint of heart, and she played the way she wanted to. Kelly has grown stronger through the game, which I would agree with. I definitely think she has, especially in these last couple episodes. Kelly tells Oyen she's at something of a crossroads between the two duos. She does think one of the guys has to be a traitor. She's just not sure which one. Oyen feels like she trusts Nick, but Kelly is the opposite. And Kelly wonders if it's possible it's both of them. Oyen is shocked by this idea, but they need to get to the bottom of it. Oh no, it couldn't possibly be both of them.
Yeah, that was a bit, it was a bit odd, wasn't it? It's like,
Mhm.
that's never crossed my mind
Yeah,
before. Wow, mind blowing. It could be both of them.
yeah.
It's, I suppose the only reason you could end up in that place is if you really do follow the pretty good logic that they should have recruited, probably could have
Hmm.
recruited a female. But at the same time, you must have at least had it cross your mind at some point. That really made me laugh when she was like, "Oh, we gotta get to the bottom of this."
I
Two
mean,
men, you say?
yeah,
Unbelievable.
otherwise, she thinks that either Kelly or Vanessa are a traitor, and so it's like it seems like it's an easy option there. But
Mm.
um, So Ben arrives next and talks about how great it's been. Vanessa comes afterwards and says she feels good, but she's been through a lot of high highs and low lows. And yes, she has. Nick arrives last and is happy he's gotten to experience the game from both sides. Now, nobody is really talking game once Ben came in. So after, I mean, Oyen and Kelly were it, but once Ben came in, that was gone. And Ben even tells us everyone knows where 4 of the votes are going. Kelly is the only one they don't. And then Vanessa tells us something similar and says she thinks the guys are coming after her. Ben confirms that to us. Siobhan arrives and tells them by the time they go to sleep tonight, they'll know who won the money. And then that the mission is going to be a big one. So I'm expecting at least a helicopter. Spoiler alert, we get it. After breakfast, Vanessa tells Oyen and Kelly that she knows the guys are going for her. Kelly then goes and talks to the guys. Ben says he's not going to try to sway her vote. And I'm like, what? What? You do know that's kind of the point of the game, right? And not trying to sway her vote is not very smart. Kelly says she's just going to go to the round table and see how it goes, which also not very smart. But
Mhm.
I don't know what to say at this point about people who make it through the whole thing. And like I said, Ben's like, I'm not gonna try to sway her. What?
I mean, I'm not sure I agree because at the same time, I was thinking if he went in and was like, "Oh, my only mission here was to try
Mm-hmm.
to sway Kelly's vote," because of the kind of climate that has been set up in this whole season, that in itself, this is not the American Traitors, David, as you
Yes.
well know. And so, actually, coming because I've just been watching, I feel like I'm kind of outing myself for a shameful activity here. I was trying to watch Destination X, the American version. Did you
Ooh,
watch any of it at all?
I watched all of it.
Okay, well, no spoilers, please. I'm on episode 2. I kind of hate watched the UK season. I thought it was okay, but deeply flawed. I'm trying
Mm-hmm.
to get into the American one, and oh my goodness, they literally come in and go, right, alliances. Like
Yeah.
the first 2 minutes, is it are you in alliance with me? You can't be in alliance with her. I'm like, you've known each other for 30 seconds. It's like, we understand. This is how it goes.
Yeah. I mean, that's without getting into other shows, I have in my Why Blank Lost podcasts, which used to be columns, the number one rule is scheme and plot. And obviously that's geared towards mostly US shows. But
Mm.
yes, I mean, my advice to any player of any game, including the traders, is make an alliance right away. Because if you don't, you will be left out in the cold. And
And but I wonder now if on a in a country like Ireland, and I
mm-hmm,
think this, I had a coffee today with a guy from New Zealand,
yeah,
and he was saying, "Oh goodness me, in New Zealand we're even worse, we're even more nicey. We say
mm-hmm,
Canadians always apologize for everything. You should try coming to NZ. It's like everyone is apologizing for everything all the time." And in this atmosphere, on this particular season of Ireland, it has been so nicey, apart
mm-hmm.
from the drama. But if Ben had gone in and said, right, I've just got to try and convince her, that could have been the thing that tipped it over. It's like, oh,
Right.
seems like you're scheming. We don't scheme on this show, you know?
Yeah. And I mean, the thing is, there are different ways to do it. Like, okay, if scheming is frowned upon in whatever country you're doing, then make friends.
Mm,
You know, they don't have to be real friends, but pretend they are,
yeah.
and get it. So it's not as obvious as you mentioned in Destination X.
Mm,
And so, in this case, he could have tried to sway her
mhm,
without going for the hard sell.
yeah.
Just bring some things up,
Yeah.
mention how close they've been, how much they've gotten to trust each other, how, Vanessa and Oyen were untrustworthy and came after and got rid of Joanna, that poor faithful.
Yeah.
Things like that instead of just throwing up your arms and saying,
Yeah, you're right. And actually, if I were in his position, I might have just said, Kelly, dear friend of mine,
mm-hmm,
um, I can't stop thinking about what happened with Joanna. I
yeah,
can't get over it. That would be the way to do it.
right,
That would be the way
exactly,
to do it. But
exactly.
he Yeah, I felt like the boys almost held their hands up, and this was the first moment, just kind of saying, well, do you think they were a bit cocky? Do you think they were a little bit like, yeah, we got this. We don't need to do anything here.
I don't know that they were cocky. I think they, well, there might, okay. There was at least some cockiness at play. I will say that. I don't know that it was the major reason. I think once they got into a position of power, they didn't necessarily know how to handle it.
Mm.
And I, let me correct that. Let me combine those two things. They were cocky when they were in a position of power and believed everything was going their way.
Hmm.
Then when they couldn't murder Kelly and she turned on Faye, that was when they realized, oh hell,
Mm.
this is not going the way we expected it to. Now what do we do?
Yeah.
And their whole thing was target Vanessa, which was indeed the only thing they could do at that point.
Yes. Yeah, and getting back to the kind of breakdown of the show, this is when it all started, wasn't it? This moment when Ben is like, "Oh, I didn't really feel I wanted to swear." It's like, "Ooh, I'm not
Yeah,
sure. I'm not sure you're approaching this day in the way you needed to approach the
right,
day to get the win."
right. All right, moving on to the mission. It is going to be worth, well, Siobhan originally says 8,500 euros. And then she says, let's just round it up to 10,000, which is weird. Like, I guess she wanted two reactions, or production wanted two reactions instead of just one. Okay. They have to hunt for crystals representing earth, wind, fire, air, and spirit. And to unlock a door 25 kilometers, which she says kilometers, by the way. I thought it was pronounced kilometers over in your neck of the wood there.
No,
But
no, we say kilometers.
okay, who says
Yeah.
kilometers
And also, I want to
then?
pick up, did you say wind and air? I mean, this is absolutely irrelevant, but I think, did you miss out water?
Earth, wind, fire. Oh, I did say air. Yes, I substituted air for water. Sorry.
Do you know what? Do you know why I noticed that, David? Because this mission made no sense to me whatsoever. I had no idea what was going on, but I did know that. Do we have a fifth element now?
Yeah, I know.
I
Yeah.
thought there was four. It's funny because I'm actually with my day job hat on. I'm working with a really great artist called Babette from the Netherlands, and we've done a couple of EPs. The first one was about water, and the second one was about earth, and we intend to do fire and air. So I was like, do we have spirit now? I mean, I love it. I love spirit as a fifth element, but yes.
Yeah, I think they just needed five things, and they were like, "Oh,
Yes.
let's do this," and they have to do this all in 45 minutes. So they, like you said, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense, and they blow through it so quickly.
Mm.
They encounter some runes and symbols and a map, and there's a lot of running around and driving around, and then they go into ruins. So there's runes in ruins. They go into a dungeon. They go across a field. They go into a boat, and so somewhere along the way, that's Earth, and I think there's candles in one of them, so that's fire. And then there's the boat, so that's water. And then finally, there's that helicopter, so there's air. And the helicopter takes them to the tower, which is good because I was wondering how they were going to get 25 kilometers to the tower in 45 minutes. Now, all that happens. I don't feel the need to recap every moment of it because it's just like I said, it's just a lot of running around, driving around, figuring things out, and it's not really explained well, in my opinion. And it doesn't sound like you really got much out of it either.
I just, for the not the first time this season, I felt like maybe I'm the dummy. Maybe I am the one who is really not understanding. I mean, I might have watched it on 1.5 times speed, which I never normally do, but I wanted to make sure that I had enough time to concentrate on everything else. But this was a probably one of the weirdest missions. I
Yeah,
don't even want to call it a mission. It was just a day out, really, wasn't it?
right,
It was a nature
right.
trail was what it was.
Yes, and this will shock you and all listeners, but they make it to their top to the top with under a minute to spare.
Wow.
If it was another Traitors season, they would have had 5 seconds to spare, but they had 50
Hmm.
whole seconds to spare. I mean, in Traitors time, that's tons of time. So they get their 10,000 euro, and then that's it for the mission. So Nick and Kelly are in the car on the way back, And he lays out a plan for going after Vanessa. And it appears to be convincing enough that Kelly says she's thinking about it.
Mm.
In the other car, it's just awkward because there's Vanessa, Oyen, and Ben. So they just chat about like random stuff because obviously none of them are going to talk game with the others. And from what we see, we know it doesn't happen this way, but they head straight into the round table. Now we know they had to go change their clothes, do confessionals, all that stuff. But what we see, they head straight to the round table. Siobhan notes that the prize is now at a final amount of 42,900 euro. So considering that was going to be out of 50,000, that's pretty good. Um, Oyen opens the round table by saying Nick has slipped through their fingers to this point, but if they go back to the last name Poddy wrote, it was Nick. And she believes that despite his claim that he turned down a seduction, Poddy had indeed brought him aboard. And then he and Ben have said that the last traitor would have blackmailed a woman, but this leaves questions. So Ben says Poddy wouldn't have blackmailed himself or Nick because they took out his son Andrew, which I actually think is a pretty good line for them to take in retrospect. Now, obviously, they didn't know it at the time, but in retrospect, to say that, it's not, that's a pretty good one. It's not convincing to the others, but it's a pretty good one. Plus, he said, or Poddy had said, to look after the girls. So that's why it's probably a woman. And Oyen was very good at catching traitors. So the implication is that's because she knew who they were. Oyen says that has nothing to do with anything, but Ben says if you're good at catching traitors, you'd be a good target for the last traitor to blackmail. So a little different than what I was suggesting. And she then turns this around very quickly and says, that's perfect. Look at Nick. Yeah. uh,
Mm.
and Ben says, well, yeah, but you're the one who's gotten everyone right. And then Oyen switches topics and asks why it has to be a woman, and he repeats the part about them getting rid of Andrew,
Mm.
which they're the only two men left. So it has to be a
Yeah.
woman if it's not them, and there's no way he would bring on someone who got rid of his son.
Yeah. This was the point at which I was thinking about this show, of which I've watched so many seasons. What it is at its heart and why I got into it in the first place is it's a game of lying. You
Mm-hmm.
have to look at people, stare them in the face, and lie to them with your
Yes.
whole body. And I was just looking at this round table and I was just thinking, I think out of this, of course, we know it's so hard as a viewer because we know, but Oyen, I was like, she's coming across so faithful. In my opinion, I just the way
Mm-hmm.
she was speaking, calm but also quite passionate, and just and Nick, it just looked in this moment that he was trying too hard. And this was the first point at which I thought, could they actually pull it off? Could it actually be that they managed to get out both traitors? It seemed insurmountable going into this episode, but from their demeanor and the way they were holding
Mm-hmm.
themselves, I thought they're giving themselves a chance in very different ways, and we'll get to it in a second. But the way Vanessa and Owen were playing it, and let's be clear, those are the ones that need to do the playing because they're trying to
Right.
convince Kelly. Kelly's
Right.
the kingmaker. So, who is going to play this final bit the best? Is it Oyen and Vanessa, or is it the boys? And I think they were outplayed. If this is playing, if being yourself and being genuine and being faithful is a form of playing, which it is because it's a
Mm-hmm.
game, Oyen at this moment, I was like, wow, wow. Oyen is a fantastic player,
Yeah.
uh, exceptional as a faithful,
it would
exceptional.
it would be interesting to see like at some point if they do some sort of all stars or something and she comes
Mm,
back and she's a traitor,
yeah.
like how she would handle having to go through that.
Mm.
Same with Vanessa for that matter.
Yes, my
So
instinct is actually nowhere near as well. I just, I think sometimes your role suits you. We've all
well, and
seen.
I think that's
Yeah.
part of what happened to Nick and Ben.
Yes. Yeah.
They were great faithful,
Mm,
they were good traitors who
I
made
agree.
mistakes.
Yeah, I totally agree.
um, and then the first original three traitors were terrible. Um, so Nick says it's wrong that to suggest he slipped through the cracks. Everything the past two roundtables has been swirling around Vanessa with all the lies, and he sat back and went with their targets of Joanna and Faye, but both were wrong. So now they're trying to target him, which
Mhm.
again, as they're trying to, get Kelly on their side, not a bad argument. I just think he and Ben should have been making that, like we said, all through the day,
Yeah.
whenever they could. There is some back and forth. The women say he didn't defend Faye. He says he did, and that Vanessa was being aggressive, which draws a stunned look from her.
Mm.
Oyen repeats that he's slipped through, but he says no. He's had to clear his name over and over. And meanwhile, they messed up in a big way both of the last two roundtables. Vanessa admits her mistakes from the past 2 days and says she's regretted that and she showed that and would apologize to the other two if they were still here. She acted on misinformation that was given to her. And she said from the start that one thing that will trigger her is going after her character. You can question her behavior, but don't you dare call her aggressive when he acted in the same way. And Nick wisely chooses to shut his mouth at that point and not try to argue.
Yes, and there is something here. I'm absolutely not going to speak on behalf of Vanessa or anyone
Mm-hmm.
else, but as you might know, there is a trope, particularly in
Yes.
TV, which is the angry black woman,
Yes.
which is that when a woman of color expresses herself in an assertive way, they can be dismissed as aggressive. And as soon as he said that,
Yeah.
because I don't actually think Vanessa has been aggressive, that's not it. I think she's been very passionate. I think she's interrupted people. I think she's let her emotions,
Mm-hmm.
absolutely inform her choices. But I've at no point felt that she was aggressive.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree. Now, I do want to pause and say, because she talked about you can question her behavior, but don't question her character.
Mm,
In this game, your behavior is your character. Like you just said, it's about lying. The whole game is about lying.
mm,
In the real world, lying speaks to your character. They are way too intertwined in this game to say it's okay to come after one and not the other. Because if you're coming after behavior, a lot of times that behavior is indicative of a character trait.
mm,
And so, like I said, if someone called you a liar in the real world, you would say, "Don't insult my character."
mm.
So, I I think she was mostly just talking about the aggressive thing, but
Yeah.
she also said, "Don't come after my character." And it's like, yeah, you are your character in this game, or your
Yeah.
character is you.
It's a very interesting topic, actually, because you're right. As it pertains to lying, you are your character, absolutely, because no one would, I'd like to think, no one would lie that much.
Yeah.
And even
Have
some
you
of the
have you seen
people,
U.S. politicians?
yeah,
Uh,
oh, let's not go down that
yeah.
road. But even as faithful, you have to lie because you have to
Right.
just keep things to yourself, and you have to say, no, I didn't say that. It's or at least maybe not lie so much, but you certainly have to
I mean,
choose who you give information to.
yeah, I think you have to lie. I've said it before on this
Yeah,
podcast that even as a faithful, you have to lie, you have to scheme, you have to plot. I know a lot
yeah,
of faithful don't like to hear that and don't want to play that way, but
yeah.
well, we saw what happened to Joanna.
I'm just drawn to this kind of idea with children where you can say, rather than saying you are very naughty, you're
Mm-hmm.
saying this behavior is very naughty, but
Right,
that was very naughty, and it's
right.
it's that distinction. I think probably that's what Vanessa was getting at, was to say, you can say that was aggressive play, or the
Mm-hmm.
way I came up was aggressive. Don't call me an aggressive person, and,
Right.
and I do absolutely get that. I think all the tears we've seen over the past couple of episodes have been actually a line has been crossed, but like you, this game tells you anything. It's
Yeah.
that you will have your character called into question because you're playing as yourself. It's your
Right.
name. You're not coming in under a pseudonym. You're not saying I am playing, the rook or the
Mm-hmm.
castle, whatever it is. You are playing under your name, so your character will come under
Yeah.
question.
Yeah. Oyen asks why Plotty voted for Nick, and he says he doesn't know. He had, they could tell he started to write Vanessa and changed it. And Vanessa says all of the traitors voted for each other before they went out. Nick says that's just a theory. They're looking for evidence. And Oyen says what they've said about Plotty is also just a theory. And Nick brings it back to the evidence of the last two roundtables. And the longer this goes on, the more it strikes me. Well, you've already said it. Nick and Ben are actors playing to an audience of Kelly,
Mm.
and so they've got to try to make arguments they think Kelly will believe. And when I say they, at least from what we saw, I mean almost exclusively Nick. Ben just doesn't seem to be able to contribute much to this. Again, at least from what we saw. Vanessa claims she didn't say Faye or Joanna were telling lies, but Nick and Ben point out she definitely did, and Vanessa has to backtrack at least on Faye. And yeah, I don't know how Vanessa can say that. It goes back to the memory thing, and it was so emotional. I think I said in our episode 10 podcast, I believe that, yeah, I've been at hearings where I was testifying and I've gotten so mad or that I couldn't remember what I said. So it's quite possible Vanessa doesn't remember that. But then don't insist it. Don't say, I never said. Well, if you don't really remember, don't say that. Kelly asks Nick why he changed his vote last time, and he explains what he saw and felt. He still believes Kelly is telling the truth. He does not think Vanessa is. And Kelly says she feels like it's going to be 2-2 and she'll be the swing vote. And I'm like, welcome to the party. We've known that since last night. This isn't news. But she says she's confused. So basically, the whole game is going to come down to whatever Kelly is feeling when it's time to vote.
Mhm.
So, but before we get to that point, Oyen says Ben had claimed to be stuck on her, but then at the last vote switched it to Faye. He says that this shows that he can take personal relationships out of it, and she hasn't. Oyen tries to defend sticking with Vanessa and says she comes to the round table with facts, which is kind of an odd thing to say after Nick just spent however long blowing them up for what happened the past 2 days where they were wrong. But like we said, you got to play the game, even if you're faithful. You keep insisting, your point. Ben continues by saying, so I guess I spoke a little too soon when I said Ben didn't say much here. He says if he were a traitor, he of course would have kept Faye as an ally. It would make no sense to vote her out like he did. And Kelly counters that if he were a traitor, he would vote out Faye because he knew the votes were going that way and wouldn't want to stand out. So this goes back to the whole conversation we had in the last episode about, why did he change it? And I think he was hoping it would be what he thought, and I think Kelly kind of nails him there.
Mm.
And then after a few more comments by Vanessa and Nick, it's time to vote, unless you have anything to add about all the arguing that was going on there.
No, I think we've pretty much covered it. Again, I love this show.
Yeah.
This roundtable was so fascinating. It was just like so good because I really didn't know which way it was going to go. And even when Siobhan was like, anything more to say? And there was that kind of pause. And I was putting
Mm-hmm.
myself there. I was like, would I have anything more to say? Because you just felt like it's like, for some reason, I'm thinking in French, épuisé. Épuisé is when it's like wrung out, like
Yeah.
exhausted, like everything, every drop has been used up,
Yeah.
like nothing left in the little ketchup bottle, like all done, all said. I thought that moment was kind of magical. There was something so cinematic about it. They were
Mm-hmm.
all just saying, "We are now accepting our fate," and we
Yes.
all know who is deciding that fate.
Yes. And of course, they set things up so Kelly votes last. And the votes this time go exactly as you would expect, with Nick and Ben voting for Vanessa, Vanessa and Oyen voting for Nick, and Kelly votes for Nick. Which, if we go back to breakfast, when Kelly and Oyen were talking, remember Oyen said, I think Ben is the traitor, and Kelly said, I think it's Nick. So I think there must have been conversations
Mm.
where Oyen and Vanessa were like, if we have any chance of getting Kelly onto our side, we have to switch away from Ben and focus on Nick so that she will join in.
Yes. Yes, and there were almost certainly there must have been conversations when they all just, agreed it basically and
Right,
said probably a few minutes before, what are you doing? If you go for one of the boys, who will it be?
right,
Nick, Nick, Nick. Okay. There's you can't leave that up to chance because
right.
otherwise Vanessa's gone.
Yeah. So I had a feeling based on how she was acting and reacting in the roundtable that she would indeed go against the guys. And yep, she did. Now, we find out that Ireland has not adopted the newer rule changes of many other series, and Siobhan has Nick reveal himself.
Yeah.
He says that Paddy was half right and admits he was a traitor. And I'm thinking, was that a shot at Vanessa? And more about that in a second. Kelly and Oyen celebrate and hug. They jump out of their chairs, they hug. And Ben just sits there with his head in his hands. And as Kelly says, it's like someone just killed their cat. Even though I couldn't remember that when we were talking about it, I had it in my notes. So,
And I have for the father of the podcast, Matthew, Proper Matthew, I did warn him because he is a cat lover.
mm-hmm.
I warned him that there is triggering content. There are references to murdering of cats. Now, no
Yes.
cats were harmed to my knowledge in the making of this episode. However, for anyone who is particularly triggered by cats being murdered, Kelly said something that,
Yeah.
really could be quite problematic here.
Yes. Now, also want to mention, I think I did that. Vanessa just kind of sits there too. Like she's
Mm.
not celebrating. She's just overwhelmed with the emotion of it all as well.
She, she's already crying, isn't she, at this point?
I think so. Yeah. And, so then Siobhan leaves after making Oyen and Kelly sit back down again. And it was kind of funny. Um, and Vanessa is still upset. Um, and it's, it's just enough to make me think there's a small chance that Kelly or Oyen might think, weird that Vanessa would be upset there.
Mm.
Maybe she was the other traitor with Nick, or something like that. But uh, we'll have to see how that goes.
Yeah.
Now, Ben says when Nick made the comment about Paddy being half right, or he tells us this, it helps him out. It was a comment to help him out because it does somewhat throw it at Vanessa. And normally we save all the listener questions to the end when we get them. And there was a question from Marcia on Blue Sky. And she says, I didn't get the Paddy got it half right thing. What did that mean? How do you think the other players understood it? So, what did you think when he said it?
I'm with Marsha. I had no idea.
Ah,
I was theme of the season. I seem to be clueless. I was trying to think. I don't know what it meant, and I don't know why he said it. Porty, was he just trying to be cryptic? What
I
do you think it
think,
meant?
I,
Half
th-
right.
I think because he wrote VA first and then stopped and wrote Nick, that he was suggesting he wrote both names of the traitors on that thing. And so Paddy got it half right by finishing up his name and therefore suggesting that Vanessa was the other traitor.
But that's you could interpret that as saying, "Oh, he said Vanessa and Nick, and only half of that is right, and I'm a traitor."
Yeah, but I mean, clearly Ben, because of Ben's comment of that helps him, he at least interpreted it of, oh, that's helping me out because it points it away from me. It,
Hmm.
points it to Vanessa. So, yeah, I don't know that it was the greatest way of Nick saying it, but it's probably about as much as they would have allowed him to get away with in final comments.
I was very surprised he was allowed to mention Pordy at all, to
Mm-hmm.
be honest, because you're not normally allowed to say if you're recruited. Sometimes you can say if you're recruited. Sometimes they go,
Right.
"Oh, I've only one day on the job, and I've been
Yeah.
found out." But usually you're not. I don't think you should be. I think that gives far too
Mm-hmm.
much information. Um, and so to mention another traitor, as you say that you're a traitor, uh, I don't know.
Yeah.
It feels like it's giving away an awful lot, and I think it might have actually given away quite a lot.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know. So, yes, Marcia, you were not the only one who was confused. It was a
Mhm.
confusing statement. Um, as we move on, it is time for the end game. She doesn't, I don't think Siobhan ever calls it the fire pit of truth. She just calls it the end game at one point.
Mhm.
So the final four arrive at the fire pit that you're standing at right now, or
Yeah,
sitting at.
I'm actually in it. I'm actually
Oh,
burning. Yeah.
oh, well, it's a good thing you were wearing that fireproof shirt,
Yes, I'm wearing fireproof clothing, and also we have absolutely flawless National Health Service here. So if I do end up burning in the fire of truth, it's going to be fine. It's going to be absolutely fine.
I
So,
mean, it's a fire of truth, and you tell the truth, so it shouldn't burn you.
just it's fine. Yeah, exactly. I have no devil in me at all. So I'm an angel. I can be unbothered by this fire of truth.
So, so yes, the final four arrive there after talking a little bit about their journeys and what's to come. Honestly, there's nothing new enough there to even worry about. And instead of what most series, I mean, all the series that I know of have, where they have a choice of two pouches, one that burns green and one that burns red, this is just one that burns and one that doesn't.
Yeah.
And so I'm not entirely sure what that means when the first, at first, when I think Vanessa's the first one to throw it in and
Mhm.
it sparks up, and I'm like, well, I guess that means it burned. And then
Well, yeah,
all of them do it.
yeah, but David, let's get into this whole thing of
Yeah.
should it's the age-old debate ever since the traitors started. Should red be for no danger, there's
Yeah.
another traitor, or should it be for stop the game, or
Yeah.
should green be we are clear, we should end the game, or
Yeah.
green means we're good, there are no more traitors. It's always so confusing. I still can't remember to this day. Hang on, red means danger, we've got to keep
Yes.
voting, right? And
Yes.
green means we're clear, we stop.
Right.
Just so you know, I have seen, and it's not a spoiler, but I have seen on some other versions, some, shall we say, even more low budget versions, they just do all of this on the chalkboards.
Yeah.
They literally go, stop, continue. Okay, and a very weird one. Again, I won't say the country in case people want to watch internationally. There's a very weird one where the host, they all stay at the round table, and the host said, would someone like to banish again? If anybody would, and someone goes, I would. Okay, so we'll banish again. And they literally just someone lets out a little yelp and goes, yes. And they go, okay, well, we better banish again then.
I mean, that takes away a lot of it because then you don't know. I mean, if only one person speaks up, you don't know
Yeah.
what the others are thinking.
Yeah, really weird. And in this kind of very tense, exciting bit, they've missed
Hmm.
an opportunity to eke out the drama, as
Yeah.
they do here.
Yeah. So all four have chosen the sparkly pouches, and each gets to plead their case, which I'm trying to remember. I feel like they don't usually do that, but sometimes they do. But
Yeah.
I can't remember when because then, like the next, if there's a next time, they weren't allowed to talk again.
Yeah.
So
You feel them kind of making it up as they go along, but
yeah,
that's fine. It's a
right.
TV show, and you're right. Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. I think they should. And actually,
Hmm.
one thing I'm thinking of one season again, I won't say which it was, where I think they don't have the fire outside, but in between each of these rounds, they get to go around the castle and plead their
Mm,
case a bit more. And there was some very interesting shifts and convincing at that point.
yeah,
Um, I think talking is always good because then if nothing interesting happens, you
right.
just cut it out, you know?
Well, and that's exactly it. It's possible that they do allow them to in all of them, but sometimes they just cut it out because it doesn't help or hurt anything. It just
Yes, and for the TV, it would be incredibly
right,
boring and very anticlimactic if people are just like, ah, well, I know what to do and I'm confident with my
right,
decision. Everyone
right.
says that. Well,
Yeah,
that's bad TV.
yeah. So Ben says he's a faithful, but there is a traitor among them, and he encourages them to look outside the box. I guess he's the one in the box. Uh, Vanessa says she has a connection with each of them and they know she's not a traitor. Kelly says she's a faithful and they all know that. Oyen says she's a faithful and that has never changed. And so the votes go Oyen for Ben, Ben for Vanessa, Kelly and Vanessa for Ben. So Ben is banished. And all of us involved in this podcast were wrong. We all predicted a Traitors win. As a matter of fact, we all predicted a Ben win.
Hmm.
And I still blame them for their action, so it's not really our fault. I refuse to take responsibility for not predicting that they would screw up.
Yeah, Ben didn't really play. I don't think he played this episode.
Yeah.
I think he kind of gave up. As I say, I think he got a little bit cocky and just sat back and this is what he reaped. And I wonder if it's also to do with that, you know, the emotion of the past few
Mm-hmm.
episodes. Ben has been pretty emotionless. I mean, he's shed a couple of tears, but you know, just head in hands, I don't know what to do, and particularly that reaction at this final roundtable. I think that did him in. I
Yeah.
think that did him in.
Yeah. So Siobhan has been revealed that he's a traitor. And I'm like, ooh, wow, they're going all the way with the reveals.
Mhm.
And at this point, that to my mind removes all suspense
Yeah.
because they all knew there were two traitors left. They
Yeah.
can do math.
Hmm.
They knew exactly, okay, someone got blackmailed, and so that makes two.
Yeah.
and they just got them both out. So this is the reason that most versions have stopped revealing at this point.
Yeah. Yes, and also you don't always get to this point of the game where you know that there had to be a
Right,
blackmail. It's just the way that this particular game played out,
right.
because they got the traitors all in a row. They were like, oh, well, it had to be a blackmail. Oh, there
Mm-hmm.
because there was a murder. They could just calculate it, and also they weren't naive to the game because the show's been going on for a few years. This is obviously the first season of Ireland, but
Mm-hmm.
most of them, apart from our best friend Wilkin, have watched. Gone but not forgotten, uh, have watched some of the show and have seemed to understand the rules. But yeah, of course the only twist could have been if one of these women who were just so nice and so respectful of each other, suddenly one of them was like, "Oh no, I'm going to make us vote again, and we're going to get rid of one of them."
I There was like a 1% chance in the back of
Yeah.
my mind because Kelly made a comment as they were headed to the fire pit about, well, what if they decide they just want to split the money without me?
Hmm.
Which we've seen happen on at least one season.
Yeah.
Won't mention which one just to avoid spoilers, but we've seen it
Yeah.
happen where the faithful were like, yeah, you might not be a traitor, but we're going to vote you out anyway because we want more of the money.
Yeah.
And from my point of view, that's a perfectly valid thing to do. Lots of people are like, that was terrible. They knew she was a faithful. I'm like, one, they couldn't be sure. And two,
Yeah.
still, the point of the game is to win the money. I know that the production and everything else says the point of the game is to beat the traders. No, the point of the game is to win the money.
Mm.
And if that means voting out a fellow faithful at the end so that you
Yeah.
can get thousands of dollars more, oh well.
Mm. Yeah. Yes, and this result here, three winners,
Mm-hmm.
uh, it is quite extraordinary. It really speaks to the level of trust between those three players,
Yes.
and the whole climate of the game all the way along. This kind of respect of each other and the kind of niceness, really. And it's always so uplifting when the faithful win. You
Well, it's
know,
so funny that you call it the respect for each other and the niceness when we had those last two, like Joanna and Faye going out in a blaze of emotion that was neither nice nor respectful, in my opinion.
it's it's true. I
Yeah.
suppose I just mean the taste that was left in the mouth after this episode was a really, really
Yes. Yes.
pleasant one.
Yeah. So they, of course, have to make it official by throwing a pouch into the fire. And it's funny because since it doesn't quickly burn red or green, they throw it in and they all stare at it because they don't know how long it takes to catch. So it's like, is it going to light up? Is it going to light up? And so none of theirs lights up and they win. They have the reveal and everything, but we know they win. Congratulations to Vanessa, Oyen, and Kelly. And that's it. And then Siobhan says something.
She does say something, and as I say to all the Irish speakers who are listening, I am confident with this. I didn't look at the subtitles, and I really am confident I've understood what was said. If I've got this wrong, then I'm literally going to ask Duolingo for a reimbursement of my 3 years of subscription. She says, "You've done it for for Namna Naheran." Now, Namna means the women, and Naharan means of Ireland. So, and I
Ah,
think it's a song. I think it's like a concept, like Namna Naharan is like the women of Ireland, and it's kind of, yeah. I think there's a folk song, and I think it's a whole movement. It might have been part of their kind of Me Too thing as well. It's like a
oh,
whole thing. So it was nice that she said that. And total sidebar of me telling you how much I love the Irish language. I do find it very difficult to say namana without wanting to go mana mana,
do
because
do 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 do.
literally if you say women the women in Irish, that's mana mana.
Yes. As soon as you said it, I wanted to, chime in with do 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 do.
Exactly. Anyway.
That must be terrible if you're Irish and you speak Irish and you watch the Muppets. And I mean,
Yeah. You said, why are they speaking about women so
yeah,
much?
yeah. Women do 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 do.
Mana
Women do
mana.
do 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 do.
It's an interesting word, mana. It's MNA with an accent on it. Mana. It's like such an unusual word, but hey, Irish is a beautiful language. Um, is Erenach Tianga Eileen. Put those words in an order and pronounce them better, and you might have me saying that Irish is a beautiful language. I'm trying my best.
All right. Well, before we wrap up here, we do have another listener question, and this is from MC Hammer 22 on Blue Sky, asking, what did all the contestants say to their family and friends where they'd be for 2 weeks? Also, after filming, did they know who had won? It wasn't obvious if they did when they were on Uncloaked, which is a brilliant, and this was a brilliant series. Roll on. They said season 2, but of course,
Mm-hmm.
series 2. Uh, so this is more of a general question. What did all the contestants say to their family and friends? I don't know what the secrecy agreement is, in terms of Ireland. Typically, when people have to go on a show like Survivor, they have to lie. They're allowed to tell, like, usually immediate family.
Yeah.
And that anyone you tell often has to sign an NDA,
Mm.
non-disclosure agreement. But other people, they frequently say, like, someone on Survivor said she was going to hike the Himalayas. Other people say they're going on a wellness retreat or a work trip or,
Mm-hmm.
just all sorts of stuff that they come up with. Now, it's a little easier for the traders because it is a shorter time frame.
Mm.
And so you could say, I'm going on vacation.
Mm.
And it fits. If you're trying to go to Survivor, that's like a month and a half. Nobody's going to
Mm.
believe you. Well, not many people are going to believe you if you say I'm going on a month and a half vacation. And then plus you come back tanned and 30 pounds lighter.
I do just wonder what they do about mobile phones. I mean, it'd be really interesting to know because they're not allowed their mobiles at all.
Mm-hmm.
But because so on Drag Race, these detectives can always figure out which queens have been cast on the next season because they've
Mm-hmm.
just gone radio silence for like 2 or 3 weeks. And I'm always just thinking, if the production, I think the production probably quite like it because they like
Mm-hmm.
people being that engaged and being fanatical and figuring it out.
Right.
Um, if they want it, all surely all you'd need to do is say, right, okay, give us your access to your account, or here you are. We'll watch you type it. You're
Mm-hmm.
allowed to do a social media post on this day and that day, just so that no one can suspect that you've gone away. Because it's all very well, David, saying I've gone on holiday. Most countries have a little bit of 4G or Wi-Fi at the hotel. So
Right.
to say, yeah, I've gone away for 7 days, and no, I won't be able to. I won't be able to let you know anything. In fact, you won't be able to
Right.
speak to me or call me
Well,
or text me and anything.
that's why the hiking in the Himalayas works out so well,
Yeah.
if you're that type of person. If I said it, people would be like, but this person was the type. But yes, there are some people like who go on Survivor and go to those lengths.
Mm.
And it was really funny when they would do all-star seasons because, but you could tell. And yes, there are websites that specifically they usually figure out the cast
Hmm.
even of new player seasons of different shows, whether it's Amazing Race, whether it's, Big Brother, whether it's the Traitors. They usually figure out the cast, uh, before they even get to wherever they are.
Hmm.
Sometimes it's through leaks. Sometimes they just they have their ways. I don't know, and so
Mm.
that's why, like the Traders US, as soon as everyone was in Scotland, they
Hmm.
did their own big social media post about
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
because I think they were seeing, and Survivor 50 did the same, even though Survivor 50 isn't going to be on until like February or March of
Yeah.
next year. They did the same thing because what I think what they realized was what they saw was other people are getting the social media hit.
Yeah.
And so it's like, well, why shouldn't we get the social media benefit out of
Hmm.
this? And so they realized there's no way. But yeah, there are people who they kept posting, they kept posting. So it was really funny because there's one guy I know who played Survivor, went back for Survivor 50. He clearly did not know that his there was going to be an announcement because he either preset Instagram posts or he had his wife posting on Instagram like, "Oh, hey, went to the beach today." Da 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 da. And it's like we know where you are.
Yeah.
um, And so the same thing happened with a returning player for Big Brother this time. Her husband, who was also a Brother player, they met in the Big Brother house, was posting under her account saying, I know there are rumors that I'm not, that I'm on this show, but that's ridiculous. I'm right here, And so
Sorry, this is a very ignorant question. Is Big Brother pre-recorded?
no, no,
No.
but there's like a week long sequester
Yes,
beforehand.
sequester. Yeah, I was going to
Uh,
say, yeah, because even though I know that the public don't vote or
right,
they don't vote for who gets evicted on the
right.
American one, my understanding, I think I tried to, they used to show like the second or third season or something on
Hmm.
one of the ITV channels or something, and because I remember Julie Chen and I remember just trying to get into it and was like, this is a very different show.
Yes. Yes, season one flopped, and so they had to make dramatic changes.
Yeah,
Much the way in the UK, Survivor just has not hit.
yeah.
But we covered it on this podcast. Me and other Matthew covered it on this
Mhm.
podcast. So if you enjoyed Survivor UK and want to go back to that, there's a whole podcast series on that.
Mhm.
Okay, we've discussed. That was a question about the Traitors, but it really applied generally, and so that's why we had to bring in all those other shows. Um, and so, now part of this was, did they know who had won? I'm guessing not.
No, I'm guessing not, and I don't think these people are such good actors that they could lie on that way on Uncloaked.
Yeah,
On Uncloaked, they
you don't
were
think
really.
Will could lie that well?
You're wanting me to say something unkind about the icon that is Wilkin, the greatest player ever on the Traitors. Um, so no, because for example, when they were just asking people like Faye and Joanna, like who do you think is going to do well?
Hmm.
They're really speculating. They
Yeah,
really are speculating. You can tell that because they just don't know. And that's interesting because it must. I wonder at what point they have like a WhatsApp group. Like they probably do, but they must have just been told. I wonder if they don't have one of the production in there as well, just literally to say please, you must not spoil what happens at the end.
yeah,
You must not. That's part of the game.
right, right. And like on again, to bring it back to Survivor, just because I know that they form text groups and everything else right afterwards, and they hang out with each other. They go to viewing parties together.
Yeah, yeah,
And by that point, I think even the people who are in the jury of Survivor certainly know. The people who go out pre-merge and are sent home, or pre-jury and are sent home, they technically don't know, but I think they almost always very quickly find out.
yeah.
And so, I think that makes it different because, yeah, on the Traitors, I think they do keep it more of a secret, or at least the Traitors where they're uncloaked. Things. I don't know about the like the U.S. version of the Traitors or any of the others
Mm,
if they keep it a secret.
yeah.
So, with that, do you have any final thoughts about this episode and indeed the series as a whole?
Um, I was thrilled with
Hmm.
the faithful win. Those three ladies are so great, brilliant TV, great players. Oyen, I mean, the fact that Oyen, who was so good, one of the best faithful we've had, and she actually ends up winning. That is
Hmm.
unusual because when you're
Yes,
that good, you get murdered again. Sorry,
they
going
should have.
back to it, should have murdered her. Should have
Hmm.
murdered. I feel terrible saying it because I'm so thrilled that she won. Although splitting that money three ways, I mean, all money's useful, but you ain't going to be buying a house in Ireland
Right.
for what, 12? I'm not very good with maths. What are they getting? About 15 grand each?
Yeah, a little less than 15 grand. Yeah.
I mean, so at that point, it's like it just becomes about the win, really, and maybe a nice holiday or something.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I know we didn't have a very high opinion of Kelly's gameplay earlier, but she kicked it into gear the last couple episodes. She really got with it. She definitely peaked at the right time.
Yeah.
And like you said, Oyen, Vanessa, they played hard. They put all of their hearts and minds into it, and good for them.
Mm.
I personally usually prefer a Traitors win when they play and they are worthy
Mm.
of that win. And this takes us back to something we discussed yesterday. Well, a couple things. One, Joanna saved the game for the faithful by giving Kelly her shield.
Hmm.
So I do think it's interesting that the woman who was beat up on the most
Hmm.
by those three women who won saved their game.
Yeah.
Uh, and the Traitors, more to the point I was getting at, blew their game by murdering poor hapless Will instead of Oyen or Vanessa when they had the chance. I still don't understand the move. It it led directly to their demise. It was the row of dominoes. They kicked over the wrong domino and they were the last two dominoes to fall.
Yeah. Yes, and I am putting it down to hubris. I just think they got a little bit overconfident, and yeah, they ended up not playing the right strategy. Let's just call it as it was.
Yeah,
That was not that
I think
they
there was
didn't get it
definitely
right.
some like I do think they had they believed they had Kelly locked up, so it was fine. But I think they also overanalyzed it and worried instead of worrying about the person they knew was their enemy.
Mm.
They worried about the person who was the loose cannon and could become their enemy. No,
Yeah,
go after the person who you know is coming for you.
yeah,
Don't worry about the wild card. Go after the one you know about. And they
yeah.
didn't.
Yes, and let's just swap out. Let's say they got rid of Oyen instead
Mm-hmm.
of Wilkin. There is no way on earth that that final plays out in
No,
the same way.
no,
I don't know how it would have played out because he was a wild card, but all I know is that we are not looking at a Kelly Vanessa Wilkin win. No
no.
way.
Right. So now we did, it is appropriate that the faithfuls win because they churn through so many traitors.
Mhm.
And so, yeah, from that standpoint, like I said, I want to see good play win. Even though
Mm,
I wear the Traitors hood and generally root for them, I want to see good gameplay, and good gameplay was what we had at the end there by the winners, not by the not by the Traitors. And
mm.
so, congratulations again to them.
I have just thought of something, David. Like, we are the first to say that, when host, insert name of host, comes in on any of these versions and says, you only have one thing to do, find a traitor. And we're like,
Mm-hmm.
it's not really, you
Yeah.
you can't get a traitor every time. However, now this season have played out, I don't think the faithful could have got that win in that way unless they had kept on getting traitors, and then they could identify how many are left,
Mm-hmm.
who could it have be, who could be have been recruited. They had enough information, so I'm finally seeing there actually is a bit of an advantage when they got that 3 from 3, three in a row, the hat
Yeah.
trick of traitors. That set the faithful up for the win that they ended up getting.
It did. However, I'm going to go back to the first three Traitors were bad.
Mm.
They were bad at it. Sorry, I know everybody in Ireland loves Plotty. He seems like a really nice guy. Bad traitor. And then you got Nick and Ben. I mean, I know Andrew was in there for a minute.
Mhm.
Um, and then you had Nick and Ben, who they also messed up,
Mm.
and it was their mess ups that allowed them to get caught. So generally, I mean, what I think gets annoying is when the host chides them, like even after they got three in a row,
Mm.
they got one faithful, and Siobhan is like, we're back to getting rid of your own faithful.
Mm.
It's like, come on. If
Yeah,
you keep getting them all out, it could literally be anyone. You
mm.
need to have something to go on.
Yeah,
And so, with that gap between when they got rid of Potty and when they eventually got rid of Nick, that gap gave them the time.
hmm,
They weeded out a couple of people they found suspicious, but who were faithful,
hmm.
but it gave them that time to figure out okay, who are really the traitors. So if you get a traitor every time, it's like random at that point. You have
Yeah.
nothing to go on because they're blackmailed and gone and blackmailed and gone. So
Mm.
you need time for the traitors to mess up, and they did.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, for sure. And again, just mathematically, this show doesn't work if you get a traitor every time. It
Right,
just literally doesn't work.
right.
Um, but interestingly, the fact that they both turned, that Nick and Ben both turned, obviously
Mm-hmm.
were recruited or blackmailed and became it, I think that was part of their downfall. I think
Right.
I mean, there is something, again, this is a tiny nuance, but there's something about being chosen to be a traitor by production and being there from the start or being recruited. Basically, you either take to it and you become supreme traitor,
Mm-hmm.
that transition from faithful to traitor, you do it well and you manage it to trick people fine, or you don't. And so for the first time, I'm starting to see there actually is potentially some kind of minuscule advantage to actually getting rid of the OG traitors. I can actually
Yeah.
see that now. It's very, very, very subtle, and you have to be a very good player. I still think over in upcoming seasons, they're going to need a little bit more of an incentive and a bit more jeopardy for people to try and get rid of the traitors at the round table. And I know
Hmm.
this has been speculated on a lot, but something around the price pot, I would have thought you could do something. But anyway, that's
Yeah.
speculation for a future season.
Yeah.
But we need to, because like you say, that whole shtick, coming up for season 4 in the UK, that whole shtick of like, oh, oh no, you banished a faithful. It's like even just that kind of narrative, that the way it's said, the dialogue is getting really tired and really
Yeah. Yeah.
boring. Now they're gonna have to find another. Claudia's smart. I think she'll start
Right.
to say, I think we're going to need another. We need to shake this up a little bit.
Yeah. Well, speaking of those future series that we have, and before we tell you where everybody can find us online, remember, everyone, to ensure you are subscribed to the Tradar, whether on YouTube or on the podcast, because we will be back soon to cover the Traders UK Celebrity Edition.
Mhm.
Shortly after that starts, I will at least be doing some with Canada, me and other Matthew. I don't know if you'll be on for that too. And, you know, MaJiKer and I will not be on like every episode like we have been this last week. Uh, but yes, coming up, we will definitely be on here. And so, I mean, the Tradar is going to have plenty to talk about in upcoming months.
Yes, absolutely. And I think it's just been revealed that I think there's going to be 2 episodes a week of the
Yes.
celebrity. It's called the Celebrity Traitors, which I like. It always makes me laugh where they put.
Hmm.
We have a quiz show called Pointless, and they deliberately called it Pointless Celebrities. Like they do that deliberately. So,
Hmm.
but this is, yeah, the Celebrity Traitors. I don't know why that makes me laugh the way they've called it. The Celebrity Traitors.
Yes.
Anyway, so yeah, and there's 2 episodes a week, which is great. I'm so glad there's not 3. Although I think me and Matthew were going backwards and forwards. Is the finale going to be on either Halloween or
He.
Bonfire Night, which I don't know if you know is the 5th of November,
Oh
because they're
no.
doing Wednesday and Thursday, starting on, don't quote me, 7th of October, something like that. Anyway, and then they've just got this 9 episodes. So we were
Hmm.
trying to figure out, do they do Wednesday, Thursday, Friday? That Friday just happens to be Halloween. Or do they
Okay.
hold the last one back and go through to the 5th of November, which for us is Bonfire Night, Guy Fawkes Night,
Hmm.
where we have fireworks and the Fire of Truth. Turns out Matthew has checked and it's going to be Halloween. So it'll be
Yes,
that.
it's going to be Halloween. Um, I will be at least there for that one. As tradition here on the Tradar, I'm on the finale one.
Mhm.
And then, we're trying to figure out scattered in amongst the other ones because having it 2 days a week throws off our normal, where I used to be on every third one for UK. And then you were in there, as well. And then, but having it two per, well, much easier. I mean, I prefer one per, just that's
Mhm.
me. Just let us talk about the one episode, but I know that's not UK TV. So yeah, we'll be mixed in there somehow, in amongst all of the other reality TV podcasting that I will at least be doing. But where can people find you, MaJiKer?
I am still on Instagram, magica underscore. My website is magica.com. And
I just
yes,
realized I don't think I follow you on.
give me a follow, guys. Honestly, I'm not posting, but when I've got something to say, I definitely will.
There we go.
I mean, I'm half kind of joking because I actually do have a new EP, and I will be sharing it at some point. Um, and yes, really looking forward to Celebrity Traitors. A little bit of a plug as well. Me and Matthew are doing a pre-cap. That's not a word.
Mm.
Of we're
Preview,
doing.
a preview.
I like pre-cap, David.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna
Okay.
roll with that. I'm just into inventing new words. I said to a friend once, "Oh, let's do a pre-brief." I'm like, "That's just a briefing. That's not what
Yeah.
supposed to." Unless you're previewing the briefing.
Yeah.
Anyway, I digress. And we are going through the celebrities on the Celebrity Traitors UK because we've had some international listeners ask and say, "Who are these people?" We thought it would take A few minutes. I think we spoke for more than an hour because these are very interesting people with very interesting stories. We don't know all of them, but we did a bit of research, and yeah, and that will be dropping in your feed pretty soon.
I will certainly listen to that and then we'll promptly forget it all once we actually start seeing them because it's hard to keep track.
Yeah.
So yeah, but everyone should definitely look for that in their feeds. As for me, you can find me all over the place in social media and reality TV podcasting. As I have mentioned, I recently did a special 10th anniversary podcast for my Why Blank Lost series on RHAP. Have done some recent Big Brother Why Blank Lost. We'll start doing the Survivor Why Blank Lost this Friday because Survivor starts tonight as we're recording this. And then we have Big Brother coming to an end. So there will be a Why Blank 1. So, yes, I'm doing lots of podcasts, especially this week. Plus, of course, along with that, I'm doing the videos I mentioned earlier where I'm at David Bloomberg TV on TikTok, YouTube, and Instagram. You can find, I did a congratulatory Traitors Ireland short video. I'll have another one on a bit of strategy coming up. And then it'll almost all be, Big Brother. And then as that ends, Survivor. And then, yeah, probably Celebrity Traders UK will make an appearance. It all comes in there. And you can find all of my accounts at Linktree/David Bloomberg. You can also reach out directly to the Tradar, aka the Matthew who's normally on this podcast, and find us on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube as at the Tradar Podcast. You can email the Tradar Podcast at gmail.com. You can send in voice messages, not about this series, but about future series at memo.fm/the Tradar Podcast. And if you have enjoyed this, which I hope you have, and you continue to enjoy it, you can make one-off donations. These are not Patreon where it's automatically deducted. You can donate however much you want, whenever you want, at coffee.com. That's ko-fi.com/Matthew Keeley. And you can buy the Tradar merch, mugs and stickers and hoodies, whatever you want at thetradar.redbubble.com. I think that's it for us. It has been great, MaJiKer, getting to meet you finally and do 3 podcasts in a row with you.
Yeah.
So this has been a lot of fun.
Yeah, it's been great. I've had so much fun, David. This has been a real treat. I only have one thing to say, which is Gorov Míle Agat. I'm going to try and say that more convincingly in an Irish accent. Gorov Míle Agat. Gorov Míle Agat. If we just say it fast enough, it means thanks a million. This has been so much fun. And yes, I'm sure our paths will cross again
Yes.
in some continent, some country, some version of the Traitors or something else, whenever Daddy Matthew gives us the keys to the
Yes.
house and lets us get up to mischief.
Yes, and thanks to Matthew for trusting us with the podcast,
Yeah.
and thanks to Mark for editing, these last episodes here. So, with that, everyone, until we see you again, remember, stay traitorous.